Why, hello everybody, it's Joycelina, and we are back taking a look at 1.16. So you'll see behind me, I've got a whole plethora of stuff I want to show you. So in this episode, we're looking at the latest snapshot, which is 20W07A. So I wanted to take a look at all the blocks. So we talked about this in the last episode. I showed you the Crimson Forest and the Warped Forest and the new product that they gave us, which is the Crimson Trees and the Warped Trees. And so these are all of the blocks that are possible with those new items. So we've got, this is what the Crimson stem looks like. This is what it looks like on its side. So what the center of it looks like. This is a stripped stem, and then these are the planks and all of the items that can be made with the planks. So this is the look of the trapdoor and the door, as you'll see here. Nice button and everything. So that is the Crimson. This is the Warped. There's definitely more pattern on this, which I think is great. I like the weaving pattern on the door. This is the trapdoor, so that's what it looks like. Again, kind of a warped line along there. And I don't know if you can see it. I'm not seeing it here where it's supposed to move. Oh, there you can see it. It's shimmery. So the colors in here kind of shimmer in the veins, and that's on both the Crimson and the Warped. So let's see if we can look at it here. See the colors, how they move. They look so pretty. So pretty. So what I wanted to do today is to take a look at all of the options, not all of them, but a lot of building options and what they look like with the different material to really kind of give an idea of what might work best. Some things work great, some things work horribly. So let's take a look. So the first thing I wanted to look at is our basic building blocks. So we have got some stone here. That's what it looks like against stone, against the diorite and polished diorite, against the andesite and polished andesite. And I think you could do this. I think that what works best is probably just the regular stone and maybe a little bit of the polished andesite. But it's an interesting contrast for a building material. And I say it wouldn't be horrible, but it's not going to be like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Although I got to tell you, the diorite, it's not killing me against the diorite. There's so much of a contrast and the movement is different. That this is so busy, and then there's this that is kind of like putting floral next to stripes or floral against some other types of material if you're into interior design, that's actually not a bad look. This is looking at the stem against other planks, any planks other than the Crimson planks. And I'm not sure I like it against most regular woods. I'm not sure that it does much. Now, against the dark oak is probably, if I were to look at all of these, where does it have some accent without being overwhelming, would probably be against the dark oak. So if you were to do a basic wood build and you wanted to add this, if you wanted to add this as an element within that build, I'd say probably the best would be against this dark oak or against the regular oak. I think it looks fine. The oak is neutral enough that you can add this. If you were to add this as just a detail somewhere within your build, I don't think it would be something that would pop out so much that it would be egregious. But for the most part, I'm really not liking the wood against it either. The next thing we wanted to look at would be the wool. So how would it look against some of the major wool items? And I tried magenta because magenta is kind of the color up here. Not so bad against that, although not great. The colors in the wool are very vibrant, and especially this vibrant, oh my gosh, the rain. What is it? The rain, the sun is horrible on this world. Wherever I'm at, it rains all the time. You can see, look, how many times I have to do like weather clear twice a day. It's pretty crazy. Anyway, that's a sidetrack. Sorry, folks. Looking at it, if you want to use wool, and a lot of times it will be really more about the wool carpet that will be alongside this. So if you're doing wool carpet, I really like the red, really picks up all of the red that's in here. So even though the wood itself, the planks are more of a magenta, this outer stem has a lot of the red in it that you're going to want to highlight in your builds. The pink was just way too light, and then the gray, the light gray, just didn't do anything. It's not a great contrast, it's too busy, so I'm not liking the gray wool either. The dark gray wool, I mean, if you have to, I think it's okay, but I don't know that it works great. So most of the other wools, I just didn't like the texture. It's too busy of a texture to go up against this. So if you're doing flooring, I would say your best bet is going to be this red wool, if you have to do that, or something very, very neutral like the grays. This dark gray doesn't lend itself to distracting. So when working on that, that would kind of be my suggestion to you. Okay, so the next area that we wanted to move on to was concrete. So I've got some concrete lined up here. Again, going with the magenta, and we'll go into the planks later, but there's really no magenta coloring in here. So if you look at the colors, it's mostly kind of a bluish gray and a red, maybe a light pink. So the pink concrete doesn't look horrible. I mean, it's definitely a contrast. It doesn't match. But if you were to have a build that had a lot of the pink concrete in it, well, you're doing something kind of crazy anyway if you're having a lot of pink concrete, that this wouldn't be a bad accent block. I think it would work in some circumstances. The gray concrete actually is a little bit too blue. Well, I don't know what color this is. More blue than purple. This is more of a purplish gray, and this is more of a bluish yellowish gray. I don't know. I don't quote me on that. All I know is that it doesn't quite work. It just feels like there's so much of a clash between this color here and this concrete that it really wouldn't suit your build. Kind of the same with the light gray. I'm not sure I'm crazy about this. If you were to do a build that, you know, the contrast is so marked that there's nothing that pulls any of these colors into this as a build color. Here we have the purple, and what I found, especially with most of the concrete, is that it's way too saturated. The colors are really bright, saturated, and bold, as opposed to these are more muted, kind of like there's a mist or a fog or a grime to the colors that don't meet this vibrant color here. So I didn't really like the purple or the blue for that reason. Now the red seems a little bit duller, and I think the red really matches some of the red that shows up in this vine. So if I were to say of all the concrete material, if you were to want to work with something, the red is just absolutely perfect. That's going to be a great design. Definitely I can feel something ominous, an ominous build with these two items in working together. And black, I think the black goes, it's still a stark difference between the two, but if you wanted to highlight some color in a build that had a whole lot of the black concrete in it, I think this might be something that you could work with. But I would definitely also want to highlight that red into it. I think if you look at it, clearly the red is the best bet. Then finally, looking at this crimson stem, what I found worked actually the best were some of the terracotta colors. And even if you just look through the whole palette as a whole, the colors are a little bit more muted, so they work well with the muted palette that's here. So even though these are vibrant, bold colors, they're still a little muted. And so even the purple concrete, or excuse me, magenta concrete that we have here works well. Even though you don't really find it in any of these colors, it's kind of in this lightest color here. It's a little lighter than any of the colors. It still blends well because the hues really match. So the measure of how much tint is in there coalesces very well together and has a nice contrast. This is the pink terracotta, which I think goes really well. It's a little bit lighter than anything you find there. See, look, I have to clear weather twice a day, and then I'll have to set the weather once. Good grief. You know what? I'm going to set the time while we're talking about it. Thanks for disturbing me. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled program. So I like how the pink looks against this, even though the pink isn't necessarily found in any of these colors. I think there's enough of a contrast. I think that looks really nice. But what I really like is the red terracotta, because you can definitely tell it is found in some of these colors. Again, the lighter colors. So between the red concrete and the red terracotta, there's definitely a lot that you can do with this block. But then you got to see this base part is more of a bluish purple. So I wanted to take a look at the colors available. You know, the warped stems are a lot of the cyan color. So I thought I would try that, but there's really nothing that blends this crimson color into this cyan block, right? This is cyan, right? Cyan terracotta. But the light blue, again, is similar to the pink, where the color doesn't show up anywhere in here, but you can tell it's a lighter hue along the same value as some of these other tints of kind of bluish purple. And so I think it looks really nice. If you were doing a building with this color, you could use this as a great accent. Then we have the purple terracotta, which I think looks really lovely against this. Definitely something that there's, again, enough of a contrast, very similar to this, where the color isn't exactly matched in here, although it's very, very close to this pixel right here. It's close enough that it looks really nice. And if you were to have a building that this was your solid, you know, a large amount of the building, this would be a great accent block. And then finally, I think, even though I have the black terracotta here, my favorite against here, first, you know, I have the red, but even more than the red terracotta is this blue terracotta. And it really does catch these tints through here. And I think it looks absolutely beautiful. If you had this rich, it's kind of this deep blue, I don't know, it feels like it wouldn't quite be ominous, but it would be definitely cold. So someplace where you wanted to have like cold and hot, this definitely gives a feel of ice and fire. And I really like the way that that turned out. This is black terracotta, and I think, you know, if you're using this, this can be an accent that just gives a contrast, or this can be little bits and pieces of the black terracotta throughout a build that's going to incorporate more of these colors. I think this would be better over the black concrete. So I would suggest that this is a better hue. Now I wanted to take a look at the actual plank as opposed to the crimson stem. Look at the crimson planks and which colors went. This color looks wonderful against all of it. So whether it's the stone, the andesite, the polished andesite, regular cobblestone, any of the bricks or the smooth stone slabs here, you can see some of the accent stones. I also took a look at the dead coral. And because they're along the same lines, I figured, yeah, you know, I think they work. I think they work a little bit less. There's something kind of brownish in these tones, more of a taupe color in any of the coral that could be a little distracting in your build. But if you've got these and you have them readily available and you want to use them as some wild accent color, and then you want to have some type of wood color to work with it, I think you're okay using the planks and using all of the, you know, when we talk about the planks, we're talking about the planks or any of these other things that are plank products. Next, I wanted to look at more of the white stark contrast to this. So I think white really pops against these bright colors. And so I gotta tell you, the diorite next to this, I'm not hating that at all. In fact, I think you might actually find a use for a building with more diorite, especially if you have it diorite layered with some of the polished diorite. Yeah, I think that those look so good next to each other. And I can envision, especially in a fantasy world where you want it light and bright, lots of whitish colors, that this is going to be a good contrast color for all of those. So the diorite, the polished diorite, this here is the block of quartz. Now, any of the quartz things, one of the things you have to be careful of, similar to the coral blocks, there's a little bit of brown tan in this. So it's more of a cream color rather than the crispness of these other colors. There's just a lot more tan. But when you stand back, it really doesn't impact as much. So I think you could definitely build with quartz and be happy. I thought this would be interesting to see. It's a snow block next to this, and part of that is because with the soul fire torches, you can have lighting, and you can incorporate both the blue and the purple into your snow biome. So that's what a snow block looks like. And again, from a distance, there's a lot of, I think it looks nice. You can't see all of the blue that might be kind of distracting. Only when you get up close you go, oh, well, I don't know. But when you back away, I think they look great together, and it's definitely usable. This here is the white concrete, so it's a little bit more gray. It's a very, very light gray, so it still works. And then this is the white concrete powder, which actually, with the purple, I kind of like that, and it gives like a sparkly feel to it. It feels like it's shimmering. So if you were to do more of a fantasy build, you could incorporate the white concrete powder, and it would give kind of an ethereal look to it. So I think those look great together, and I would say all of the white palettes against this are looking fantastic. So the next thing I wanted to look at was woods. So what different woods would go along with these planks? So if we were to look at the different plank types, so we have oak plank here. We have spruce plank against it. Then we have the birch plank, the jungle plank, the acacia plank, and then the dark oak plank, to see what kind of matches and goes along with. So if you were to do mostly one type of wood, would this crimson block be a good accent? I'd say maybe you can get away with it with the oak. Again, I think the oak is a fairly neutral yellow. The way it's made, those colors in it are just such that I think it would be okay. I don't think you could go, I don't think anybody would say, wow, that's really ugly together. But I'm not sure that they'd say, wow, that's fantastic. I'd say the same is probably my second favorite would be against the dark oak. And I think because it just lends to their both deeper, darker colors, that you're able to get more of a kind of a rich feel, so that the purple here, the crimson planks don't stand out like, oh my gosh, they're so different. I think they both have the same level of richness to them, that you could do a build that incorporated both of these colors and it would look really, really nice. Again, I wanted to also look at kind of which stems would look best, apart from the crimson stem. So what of the normal logs would look nice against these planks? And I think I did, what looked nicest to me were the acacia logs, the dark oak log, and then I wanted to take a look at what the stripped dark oak log. Wow, that's a lot of words for one block. Stripped dark oak log looked, I think these were my favorite out of all of them. And I would say at the most, I would like this, the acacia log looks best to me. But you can tell me what you think, if you like them, if you think something radical and different from these would even look better. So let me know in the comments. I also wanted to try some of the other various blocks that were in the system, as well as I think along here I also have some concrete. But these are the brain coral block and the bubble coral block. And now when you do these, of course you always have to have them against water, so it always makes for a much bigger build when you utilize them. But I really do think that especially with the pink coral, or with the brain coral block that ends up pink, that is a really nice contrast, and I think it would look really pretty as an accent layer if you wanted to make it look like it was striped wallpapering or something to that effect, where you had the brain coral up and then the planks. I think if you had that as a striped wall, that would look really, really interesting in one of your builds, depending on what type of building you're doing. I think that's not a bleh, can't do it. With the bubble coral, I think they don't go. I think they just don't match as nicely. So I would be really hesitant of utilizing the bubble coral block against these crimson planks. The next, I took a look at the purple blocks because I'm thinking overall, if you were to look at what unique and hard to come by blocks go with each of the two sets, for this it would be the purple blocks that you would get in the end. Not hating it, not loving it. They're definitely different. They are different families of shades, right? So this is a very deep, rich color. This is a very bright, light, almost airy kind of color. So I'm not sure that they would go together great. I think you might have instances where you can transition utilizing the two blocks, but I'm not sure. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. Don't love it. As well as I wanted to look at the concrete, because the thing about the concrete block is it's, again, a very heavily saturated color. And they're very bright, bold, vibrant colors on the concrete. And I think with the planks, they just don't go as well. The pink, I don't mind. I think actually of all the concrete colors, that's the one that works the best with it, just so that you know. So the pink concrete, I think, has enough of the same characteristics, same hue, same kind of just feel, that you could utilize it against these planks, and it actually looks very nice. The purple concrete just was way over the board, way too much blue as opposed to red and pink, that it did not even, it doesn't even serve as a contrast. It just is starkly not a good match. I also tried to get with the black concrete, and again, I don't think it's the worst, but I don't think it's the best. Well, you'll know, this is what I think is the best. It definitely, if you have something that is predominantly using the black concrete, this is a good block to give it some color so that there's something outside just the black or black and gray or black and white that can give you some color. It's definitely something you can utilize. And then I thought I'd try something really wild and say, what does this look like against some of the sandstone blocks? And well, I think it speaks for itself. It doesn't. It doesn't work at all. Don't do this. It's my advice. That's my advice to you. It's my advice to you. Don't do this. That's ugly. And then finally, I wanted to take a look at the terracotta. And if you stand back, you can see they all seem to have the appropriate hue to go with the hues that are in this block. So even if they aren't a one-to-one match with another block in here, they look really good. They're not too bold. They're just muted enough to go along with this plank. And so I think it looks really nice. So this is the magenta terracotta. Here you have the purple terracotta. Even along with the blue terracotta, it's a contrast, but it's not something, even though this block isn't found anywhere in here, and it's a contrast, it's not something that is horrible. Now, I can't say I would do any building with this, but if you're an out-of-the-box kind of person and you're building a lot with this blue terracotta and you want something to just kind of pop, this might be a color that pops. And then you have the cyan terracotta, which looks gray. And it's meh. It's meh. It can't be, it's not bad. It's not good. It's not great. It's meh. Okay. Yeah, you can if you want to, but there's some better colors. And then finally, we have the black terracotta, which actually, because it's not too dark of a black, I think works well with this. And this is a nice complementary color through here. It almost matches, it almost matches the deep darkness of these colors through here. So I think from a distance, it looks really nice and can serve as a good border, can serve as an accent, or this plank can be an accent to a heavily black terracotta build. So I think those look really nice together. And then finally, looking at the glasses, and I don't want to look straight through because then you see other stuff. So let's look off to the side. These are the ones that I thought would work best. You've got your white stained glass, you've got your pink stained glass. And I think those two are probably my favorite. The purple I wanted to try, but it just doesn't pull the right shades through here. So I wouldn't advise it. I mean, it's not horrible, but it's not beautiful. Then you have the gray, the light gray stained, the dark gray stain, and then the black. And I think all of those work well because the deeper you go, the more almost invisible they become against the block. And so that part is nice where they're not changing the hue much. Would you look at the time? Oh my goodness, time flies when you're having fun and talking about blocks, which I enjoyed. I hope you did too. If you did, please feel free to leave it a like. And I hope you enjoyed finding out what blocks kind of work well with the crimson stems and the crimson plank. And I'm excited to see what kind of builds you all build once 1.16 comes out, or if you play in the Snapshot, either way. And also, if you'd like, hit that notification bell, and that will notify you anytime that I randomly upload a video such as this. So for now, I'm going to say I'll see you next time. And next time we'll be working on the crimson, the warped stems and the warp blocks, planks, whatever they're called, you know. Anyway, thank you for watching.